Okay, hello again, Detroit Chess Book Club. We're going to look at another variation of the French defense. And let's get started. E4, E6, D4, D5, Knight C3. We've already talked about these moves. Before we discussed Bishop to B4. This time we're going to discuss Knight to F6. And you need to know the principles behind both of these variations so that you'll know what to consider while you're playing a competitive game. We're talking about tournament games. In speed games, you're just going to rely on the knowledge that you have and your instincts. But in a tournament game, you have time to sit back, think, and consider. You'll notice I've angled my chessboard to see if this will work better. I don't think it is, but let's give it a try anyway. Bishop to G5, pinning the knight to the queen, threatening pawn to E5. When you see the opportunity to actually make a threat, that's a move that you want to strongly consider, because now you're controlling the number of responses that black has. And if black misses the threat, you may go ahead and material. Black breaks the pin, so if the pawn comes up, black has options to move the knight. Pawn goes up, attacks the knight, and also, again, it's a threat. The number of options black has available is limited, and white takes over E5, which gives him space. We talked about space before. If you have space, you have mobility. If you have mobility, you have a slight advantage. Knight goes D7 because his whole idea is to attack the base of that pawn chain and start developing his other pieces. Bishop takes bishop. Queen takes bishop. F4 supporting his E4 pawn, but it comes without threat. Now, black has an option to decide how he wants to develop his pieces. A6, he wants to prevent the pin from the knight. The pin on the knight from the bishop, as well as the knight being able to move forward and thread this pawn, which would result in a knight fork going to the king. Also, he wants to push up this pawn. If this pawn is back and he pushes this pawn, then this square becomes available to the knight. You don't want that to happen. This is a very strong square if your C7 pawn is no longer there. Right now, it doesn't mean anything because your C7 pawn covers it. Developing. If black takes off the pawn, the knight takes the pawn. Now that knight has a strong square because no pawn can push him off that square. Developing. And right now the fight is over D5. Black has 1, 2 pieces. White has 1, 2 pieces. The other interesting thing, the black queen has been pulled off. Otherwise, that black queen could also assist in the pressure on D4. So now white captures, which makes that square available to his knight, and the black knight at C4 can still be pushed away, well, in a couple moves really. Captures with the queen, that's very interesting. Now this is one of those moves I would have to put into my computer and figure out why the queen was better than taking with the knight. And that's how you become better. The more moves that you understand, the more principles that you understand can apply to different positions, makes you a better player. Oh, well, I see one reason. And as the game goes on, sometimes you see the reason. With the queen here, white cannot castle. That's interesting. Black is making advances so that he can actually locate his bishop on b7 and continue to pawn storm on the queen side, because that appears to be where white is going to have to castle at, or either just leave his king in the center of the board, which is never a good thing. And sure enough, he castles queen side. White castles queen side. b6. He's looking at this square. If he's exchanged off, then he opens up a file coming into the king. That's a good principle. Whenever you castle to the queen side, always look for the opportunity to make your castle a little smaller. Now the king and the knight cover that a2 pawn. Chose to play to d7 opposed to b7. At b7, you're blocking your knight, your rook, from applying pressure on that b file. d7, you take some development for your bishop, but you're not blocking your rook. You never want to block in your own pieces. Goes here, knight takes, knight can take back, and you'll still have a post, I believe. Maybe not. But it's preparing to take over d4. Other thing about moving the knight away, you can switch him to the queen side and try to, to the king side and try to break through. And as these pawns advance, white has not moved any of his pawns. He has a better chance of just being able to lock up the position if black attempts an all-out pawn storm. Once these pawns are moved, it's harder to prevent the pawns from exchanging and open up files. Apparently that's what's happening. White is advancing on the king side, black is advancing on the queen side. And right now it looks like white is going to make contact quicker because he already has the f5 pawn against the e6 pawn. Black castles, which again is a very good idea. The queen side, your pawns are already gone. It's a very open position, but it's better than castling to the king side, in which case the white pieces are going to be able to move onto the queen side very quickly. Black pieces are going to be hampered because the pawn is still at e6. And white's pawn storm has already started. So castling to the king side, castling to the queen side is much better in this position. The king is safer than it would be on the king side, even though all the pawns are still in their same position on the king side. I hate it when I do this, but it happens. This pawn's already been pushed at some point. As you look at the video, you'll see where I missed the move. It's coming in for the check. Just because you see a check, again, for my beginners and intermediate players, doesn't mean you have to take it. Consider the position they'll be given after the check to see if the check actually had a purpose. I think here white wanted to check again to control black's response, and now he has 1, 2, 3, and was 4 on d4. Black just has 2, so he was able to take over d4. Okay, and that was the last move relating to the opening. At this point in the game, you would sit back and come up with a plan. And there can be many different plans. I mean, there are some plans that are just outright wrong, but there are many that will be correct and just require proper execution. Okay, French defense.